Hello, everyone. I'm Thomas Wasson with FreightWaves and super excited to be having an interview with the folks from TextLocate. I'm very excited. Joining me in studio is Ryan Rogers. He's the co-founder and CEO of TextLocate. We're going to catch up with what they are working on, and they recently had some news, and so super excited to have him on to share it with us. Ryan, absolute pleasure to have you in studio. It's one of the best parts about being in Chattanooga. Tell us how have you been, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, it was just a short commute from our office, just a couple miles down the road. So yeah, it's always so much better to be able to come here. It's been great, but doing well. I mean, we had some recent news with our. We were acquired by Tenstreet a few months back in February, and we've been working on some projects there and continue to grow in the business and help others in this industry.
And congratulations, first off,
Thanks.
with being acquired by TenStreet. And so, for folks who are not as familiar with Text Locate, talk about what you all do and how it works.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with TextLocate, we are really primarily focused in the non-asset side of the business for making communication with drivers more simplified. So when I started TextLocate, coming up next week, it'll be 4 years. So coming up on that time frame, when I look back, I was like, how do we just make visibility, communication, things simple with drivers? And we created that all via text. So the value add for you is to have automated messaging, two-way communication, all via text, image capture with that, location services outside of your traditional apps.
And that's one of the fascinating things with drivers is because a lot of them really enjoy the text component. And so let's talk about how, some of the tech works. What do the drivers like about it? Because it does feel like nowadays everyone's trying to make you download an app and there's like a gajillion of them.
Yeah, and that's exactly the problem that I saw in the industry. And I was like, we'll see if this makes sense or not. It makes logical sense to me. And when we first started doing, we caught on super fast because what drivers love is this: there's no interruption. They don't have to download an app. They don't have to put in their username. They don't have to put in their password. They don't have, like, we've taken the speed bumps and the complexity out for simple communication, chat, things like that. So when they want to share a picture of a POD or something's broken on the truck or something like that, literally they just like you and I text, they just text back and it's done. And so what's unique about the way we handle it is we do everything with associated with a driver phone number and a load ID. So then that way we're having that communication. Because somebody will say, well, what makes you better than any other texting tool? Because we only work in logistics. So we have built everything we have around traditional base text messaging and built it for audience and atmosphere from a logistics perspective.
And that's kind of a win because a lot of times you have to go through like a game of telephone sometimes. Oh, let me send an email. Now I'm waiting to reply back. Now
Yep.
my other guy's going to text the driver. Now he's waiting for the driver to reply back. So having that chain, that end to end thing, being able to speed it up and simplify it. Talk about some of the feedback from drivers as well, because I can imagine that it really speeds up the process of escalation and fixing problems. And things always go wrong in this industry.
Oh, every day, all day long. It's a tough job for drivers. So it's like, how do we make it easy? And what I always say, and I go even approach this with customers. I'm like, hey, even with the customer's paying. So a freight broker would be paying for the account to have that communication. I'm like, hey, as long as you know, we're going to be 51% biased to a driver and 49% to a customer. The reason being, if I can't do things that drivers don't love and make it easy, they won't use my product and you won't be my customer. So we focus on how do we make it easy, like simple communication to them, like, welcome intros, like with their name and their info, and asking for simple stuff. And if you look at it, a lot of times, I mean, the phone calls that are going unanswered today is astronomical because between here and my office, I mean, I get two calls, not even AI, just recorded call. I mean, there's so much spam. With the text, you can be pointed. You identify yourself properly. You let them know who's calling and why you're calling, and it resonates with the driver to respond back quickly and easily. They can also voice text with their devices just like they would, or you and I would if we were voice texting with each other. So all of those things there's not training. They're already conform. It's always just it's working simple for them, and they can have that easy response. And if you think about it, if you leave a voicemail or a long voicemail, they've got to figure out how to write all that information down. If you send them a text, it's right there, exactly what you're asking for. They can respond when it's appropriate and safe for them instead of the urgency of a phone call or getting annoyed because somebody calls 5 times in a row. Things like that happen.
And a lot of drivers nowadays having that voice to text and having that option, hands-free devices, especially now with everyone everyone keeping on the driver saying, don't be distracted. Being able to push a button and say, I can talk and stuff with my little headset is a huge difference instead of let me stop what I'm doing. Let me hold on here and do all this other stuff.
Yeah,
That's a really cool feature.
it is. It's very nice. Makes it so easy.
Let's talk about for the brokerage side, the 49% here. What do
Yeah.
they like about the solution? Because I can imagine tying it to the load and having direct convos within the load. It's something that I hadn't really seen a lot with brokerages because they all rely on email. It feels like.
Yeah, and that was a tough challenge getting people to kind of move outside of email. But the reality is, email works very well if you're emailing with a dispatcher. So if I'm emailing with you, things are pretty easy because you're expected your day to day job. You're going to have a laptop. I'm going to have a laptop, two screens, all that kind of stuff. So email is nice to do that. But with the driver, like texting, it just makes it so much easier. So what's appealing to the broker is the response. Do they respond? How quick do they respond? Is it easy for them? So this is why I'm saying, hey, talk to the driver the way they want to be talked to and spoken to and communicated with instead of what's convenient for you. You have to adapt, just like anything else, adapt to the audience.
And you used to be, and you've been in trucking. I came from trucking. It's fascinating to see the percentage of drivers who prefer text-based communications. Like
Oh,
we
yeah.
used to say at US Express, send them a thing over the driver text, send them a Qualcomm, send them a
Yes.
message. And so you guys are almost doing that. So brokerages who don't have that capability, TextLocate, it's like, look, it's already tied to the load. I'm going to send you a message. And
Yep.
drivers are almost pre-trained for some of them.
Oh, absolutely they are. And they prefer to get text. I mean, think about it today. How many texts do you get to phone calls today? It's 10x or 20x or whatever. It's so much easier and so much pointed, and you can respond when you want to. It's the same logic. It's just let's do this for drivers and make it simple for them.
So let's talk about what's next. What are you all cooking on? What are you cooking up and what are you working on? Because, congratulations on the Tenstreet, the acquisition by Tenstreet. That opens up new opportunities, more potential for solutions and integrations. Tell some folks kind of what's on the roadmap or what are you thinking about now post acquisition?
Yeah, number one, Tenstreet's been a fantastic company to work for. Just a really good group of people. They work hard. They're very honest, very straightforward, very easy to work with. Tim and Brian have built a phenomenal tool for the industry. I mean, a lot of people use it. They probably have over 5,000 customers now using Tenstreet's product. Very informative, very in depth. I mean, I was at recently learning more about it. I attended their user conference. There's 600 or 700 people there. I mean, and I was like, man, that would be so cool if I'd ever got big enough to have a conference and people show up to it. But with that, what they saw was what they liked about TextLocate is that we had number one, we're focused on the driver just like they're focused on the driver, but we're in the non-asset space. So we were the largest in the communication side on the non-asset, and they looked at it and said, okay, how do we communicate more with drivers? How do we make processes and things easier? They already have a product called the Driver Pulse app for notifications and updates and things like that, and extending that even with TextLocate. And so as Tim and I were talking about ideas and opportunities, since Tenstreet manages all the candidate applications. So when a driver applies to a position and all that kind of stuff, so they have this enormous amount of data. I mean, they're processing like over 90% of all the U.S. The background checks on drivers. So I was like, with all the fraud things going on, we're getting all these driver phone numbers. So how do we actually make sure they're correct, and how do we make sure to protect drivers? So I don't know what name we'll land on, but we've kind of hit Driver Protect. It's kind of the name we're kind of calling this product right now. And basically, a driver would have their information inside of Tenstreet's Pulse app. It's kind of like it's like an identity for drivers.
Yeah.
So when a freight broker says, "Hey, I need your driver's phone number," they would be able to key it in the system, hit our API, and that driver would opt in to allow this sharing of information, and that driver we would be able to allow and say, hey, this is a legit driver. And that is not something, number one, in the industry. It's not available. Tenstreet's the only one that has that kind of data. So we're partnering together to bring that, and that's a benefit for several parties. I mean, the big benefit is for a driver to protect their identity. So if they're getting data, or if somehow somebody's just using their number, because driver phone numbers get passed around a lot, and when they're booking loads and stuff, they'll be able to have knowledge of this. Additionally, the broker can be like, hey, am I really speaking to a driver? Let's make sure that this is actually a truck driver that I'm put in this driver field, which the driver field data is usually, I mean, it could be voice over IP. We check for all those things, and really making sure that works. And then if you think about it, shippers are going to appreciate that. They know that data and it's real and authentic there. So it really, and then the truck drivers, they're going to be, really excited, I think, too, to be like, hey, make sure all my drivers are qualified and approved through this Tenstreet Driver Protect product. And then that way the drivers will know, hey, I'm legit. And if you think about it, they should get more freight. The carriers that have all the drivers identified that can hit our system, that just gives people comfort from a fraudulent perspective. Because, fraud, I mean, they try every solution they can, but, they try to, let's say they put my mobile number in. I'm not a truck driver.
Yeah.
I'm not going to show up, but we don't have a way to validate that. Now we're going to be able to have that. We're in development now, and hopefully, we'll be in a position to roll it out in the next 60 days.
That's networking effect. 90% of all applications, you create a product that allows you to then validate each driver. That means, what if I'm a driver and I'm switching companies? I know I'm kind of protected. My information, I'm validated. I got the little badge. I'm legit.
Yeah.
And so then it's not, because you can have it. You can even find out. I'm assuming it opens the door because two-factor authentication via text is another tool. And so if I suddenly find out that my number, if it's trucker guard, driver protect, if it's like, hey man, there's some sketchy stuff going down, there's an added benefit to drivers inside the cab and outside the cab.
Yeah, I mean, one example with that, we don't have this fully baked out, but I was thinking, why not do this like the multi-factor or something like, how you get the text from your credit card company that says, hey, did you just make this charge at FreightWaves for $314? You're like, hey, that wasn't me. What if we can bring that to the driver industry where it says, hey, Ryan, you have just been booked on load from by broker FreightWaves from Chattanooga to Atlanta. If this looks correct, no problem. But if that's not you, let us know.
Ooh.
That's never occurred. We've never had the ability to do that.
It's a pre-assignment.
It's just a way for them to have knowledge of what's going on, and if they see something, they can act on it.
Because sometimes I can imagine, what if you don't have a good relationship with your dispatcher and they say they're booking you one thing, and then you're getting a text message saying, hey, by the way,
I don't want to get into that at all. We just want drivers to make sure that their identity's safe.
Yeah. I love the applications of it. And, it's really, really awesome, especially in terms of helping out drivers who, there's so much technology nowadays. Sometimes those simpler solutions are often the best ones.
Well, I think so. That's the approach we've had at TextLocate the whole time, is to take simple, make complex things very simple and very useful. Doesn't mean that it's going to work 100% all the time. Nothing you do in our industry does. I mean, if anybody tells you that, it's not true. We've been in this a long time. But if you can appeal to a very mass audience and just, again, how do we make it simple? I mean, drivers are out there. They don't have laptops. They may carry a tablet or something. They're driving a truck. And when they stop, they probably want to watch a movie or get out and walk around or stuff. They don't do office work.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they don't want to have to do that. So the easier options that we can fulfill for them, the better off we are.
If folks want to learn more about TextLocate, check out all this stuff, and, keep updated on this cool upcoming news that you recently talked about that you're working on. What's
Absolutely.
the best way to get more info?
Easy. Just hit textlocate.com. Reach out to me. Go to our LinkedIn page, TextLocate. Email me, ryan@textlocate.com. Whatever you guys have interest, we can, if you hit our website, you can click a little button and set up demo time and everything very simply. And then Tenstreet.com for all of their additional information as well.
Perfect. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
That's going to be a wrap for this special edition here on FreightWaves. Stay tuned. Check them out. TextLocate.com. Ryan Rogers, the man, the myth, the legend.
Thanks for having me.
I'll see y'all.